The wind was the only thing that ever answered Samuel Hart these days. It swept over the lonely Wyoming plains like a slow, sweeping broom, brushing dust across the porch of his ranch house, and whispering through the skeleton, gray boards of the old barn. Sam had lived alone for 11 years. 11 years since his wife's illness took her in the spring, and since the land refused to yield anything but silence after her passing. A man didn't choose loneliness, he supposed. Sometimes it simply settled on your shoulders like a second coat, and stayed there no matter how warm the sun grew. On this particular morning, the world felt unusually still, so still that Sam paused with one boot in his stirrup, unsure why a tremor ran through his chest. Maybe it was the way the clouds sat low and heavy, as if waiting. Maybe it was the uneasy feeling that something out there, something beyond the fence line, was calling for him. He mounted anyway. He always did. A rancher didn't stop tending the land just because the air felt odd. Rufus, his old chestnut gelding, snorted as though he too sensed something amiss. Sam patted his neck. Easy, boy. We'll just check the North Ridge and be back in time for supper. Not that there's anyone waitin' on us. They started toward the hills. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the prairie, stretching the grass into golden ribbons that swayed with the rhythm of Rufus's hooves. Sam tried to push away the rising feeling in his gut, the sense that the world had paused mid-breath. At the top of the ridge, he reined in suddenly. There, beneath a twisted juniper tree, hung the shape of a small body. His breath caught, not in fear but in shock so deep it felt like a fist tightening around his ribs. The child wasn't swinging wildly, nor limp as a corpse. She was suspended from the lowest branch, her wrists bound above her head with coarse rope, feet still touching the ground but barely. Her head drooped forward, long black hair tangled across her face. Around her neck hung a crude wooden sign burned with rough letters, It men doen fa rgiye. For a long moment Sam didn't move. The wind didn't move. Even the grass seemed to hold still. Finally he dismounted, boots crunching softly across the ground. Fear, real fear, the kind he hadn't felt since the night he held his fevered wife in his arms, crept icy fingers up his spine. The girl was young, maybe 10, maybe 12. Apache, he thought, judging by her clothing and the beaded patterns sewn into the woven fabric at her shoulders. He placed a hand on her small shoulder. She flinched. Alive, exhausted, terrified. Sam's voice came out rougher than he meant. Easy, sweetheart. I ain't gonna hurt you. Brown eyes lifted just enough for him to see the panic swimming beneath them. She didn't speak. She didn't struggle. She simply stared as though unsure whether he was salvation or another danger. Sam gently lifted her under the arms and tried to raise her weight enough to loosen the tension on her shoulders. Hold on. I'm cutting you down. He reached for his knife, then froze as her lips parted. No, she whispered. It was barely a sound, more breath than voice. No what? He asked quietly. No cuttin' you down, or no me touchin' the rope. She swallowed. The sign around her neck knocked softly against her chest. They said, if I come down, white men kill me. Sam blinked. Who's they? She closed her eyes. Silent again. He glanced around, scanning the ridge. No horses. No tracks except a few hoofprints leading west. No bodies. No blood. Nothing. Listen, he said, softening his tone. Whatever happened, whatever someone told you, it ain't true. You ain't safe up on this tree. And I sure ain't leavin' you like this. The sun dipped another inch toward the horizon. The temperature began to drop sharply, as Plains evenings always did. He couldn't stay out here arguing with a terrified child. With gentle determination, Sam slid his hand around her waist to support her weight. Don't you worry. I've got you. She tensed but didn't fight him. He cut the rope. The girl sagged into his arms, knees buckling. He caught her before she hit the ground and eased her to sit at the base of the tree. Her wrists were raw and red. She cradled them to her chest, breathing in shaky little gasps. Sam crouched in front of her. I'm gonna take you back to my ranch, just for tonight. Get you warm, get you fed, and figure out who left you out here. Again, the smallest whisper. No. They come back, they search. If they see me with white man. She trailed off, eyes wide. Then I'll keep you hidden, Sam promised. Ain't nobody gonna take you or hurt you tonight. Not while I'm standin'. He didn't know where those sudden fierce words came from. After all, he'd spent years avoiding responsibility for anything except his cattle and the dying land. But something about the small, trembling child before him stirred instincts he thought had been buried with his wife. She looked at him long enough for him to see indecision flicker through her expression. Then she nodded. Sam wrapped his coat around her shoulders. It nearly swallowed her whole, and lifted her onto Rufus. He climbed up behind her, settling her carefully in front of him so she wouldn't fall. You got a name? He asked quietly. A long pause. Then, Tayen. That's a fine name, he said. I'm Samuel, but you can call me Sam. The ride home felt longer than usual. Tayen sat rigid and silent, like a bird too frightened to move. Sam kept one arm gently braced around her so she wouldn't slip. Every so often, she'd flinch at the snap of a twig or the cry of a distant hawk. He couldn't imagine what horrors she'd endured before he found her, and he didn't push her to speak. By the time the dim outline of his small ranch house appeared in the fading light, she leaned slightly against him, exhausted more than trusting. When Rufus stopped at the corral, Sam slid down first, then lifted her carefully to the ground. She swayed, so he steadied her with a hand. Let's get you inside, he murmured. The warmth of the hearth fire greeted them as he opened the door. He carried her coat, wrapped form to the wooden chair by the fire and set her down gently. She watched everything with wary eyes. His movements, the room, even the crackling flames. Sam poured her a tin cup of warm water from the kettle. She accepted it with both hands. The steam formed soft clouds around her face. You hungry? He asked. She didn't answer, but the way she held the cup didn't hide the tremble in her arms. Sam set a pot of stew on the stove to warm. While it simmered, he knelt beside her. Tayen, I don't know what happened to you. And I won't ask just yet. But you need to know something. In this house, you're safe. Ain't nobody gonna harm you under my watch. Her eyes shifted to the window, as though expecting shadows to appear there. You not scared of them? Should I be? A small shiver rolled through her shoulders. They angry. They say white man killed my brother. Say I pay for white man's anger. Sam felt something sharp twist in his chest. Your brother, I'm sorry. She looked at him sharply. Why sorry? You not know him? Don't have to, Sam said. Losing someone hurts. No matter who you are. Her face softened just a fraction. Just a moment. But it was enough for him to see the child beneath the fear. When the stew was ready, he served her a bowl. She hesitated before taking the first bite, as though expecting it to disappear or be snatched away. But the moment she tasted it, hunger won. She devoured it with quiet urgency. Sam smiled gently. There's plenty more. As she ate, he pulled a blanket from the cedar chest and draped it around her shoulders. Tayen peeked up at him through strands of hair. Why you help me? She asked. Not suspicious, genuinely confused. Sam sat across from her, elbows on his knees. Because someone ought to. Because no child should be left out there alone. Because kindness matters, even when the world forgets it. She stared at him for a long moment before looking down into her bowl, blinking quickly as though holding back tears. Outside, night settled heavy over the plains. Wolves howled in the distance. But inside, the fire glowed warm and steady, and something Sam hadn't felt in years, stirred quietly in his heart. A beginning, a second chance. A spark of purpose he thought he'd lost forever. The first night passed in uneasy quiet. Tayen slept curled up near the hearth, waking at every pop of burning wood, every sigh of night wind brushing the shutters. Each time, Sam reassured her from across the room, speaking low and steady. He slept in his rocker, boots still on, just in case someone came searching for the girl before dawn. No one came. By morning, Tayen was still wrapped tightly in the blanket, her dark eyes blinking open to the pale light. Sam was already up, frying bacon in an iron pan. The sizzle filled the small cabin with a smell that seemed to soften something in her expression. "You sleep any?" he asked without turning. "Little," she murmured. "That's more than I expected," Sam said gently. "Figured your mind's workin' overtime." Tayen pressed the blanket closer around her shoulders. She didn't answer. Sam plated the food and set a small portion in front of her. She stared at it, then glanced up with hesitation. "I help. I work for food." The question cut Sam deeper than he expected. "No work needed," he said quietly. "You're my guest." Her brows pulled together as though the word, guest, was unfamiliar. Guests usually family. "Well," Sam said, settling into the chair beside her, "some families you're born into. Some you find out on a ridge under a tree." That earned him a tiny, upward twitch at the corner of her mouth. She ate slowly this time, not devouring but savoring. When she finished, Sam poured her a bit more warm water. While she drank, he stepped outside to check the horizon. The plains looked deceptively peaceful. But Sam knew very well that trouble could seep across quiet land like fog. Someone had tied that sign around the girl's neck. Someone had left her to die, or to be found as a warning. He didn't know which was worse. He returned inside. Tayen watched him with that same alert stillness, as though waiting for him to explain the world. "Do you know who might have taken you?" Sam asked carefully. She shook her head, hair brushing her cheeks. "Not no faces. They cover with cloth, speak English, some words Apache, all angry." Sam's stomach twisted. "White folks, or Apache?" Tayen just shrugged, eyes drifting to the fire. "Both can be cruel." The truth in her voice was older than she was. Sam sighed softly. He didn't want to drag her through questions. Didn't want to push her into memories that clearly stung like open wounds. But he had to understand what danger she was in. "They kill my brother," Tayen said suddenly, as though the confession spilled out on its own. "He hunt rabbit. They say he trespass. They yell, he run, they shoot." She stared straight ahead, eyes darkening. "They take me. Say white men start war. Say Apache must answer." Sam's heart throbbed with anger and grief that wasn't his, but felt like it belonged in his chest just the same. "Tayen." He knelt beside her chair. "What happened to your brother was wrong. All of it was wrong. But I give you my word, you're safe here." She studied him. Really studied him, her gaze traveling from his rough hands to his weather-beaten face, to the sadness in his eyes he'd never quite learned to hide. "Why you sad?" she asked suddenly. He froze. No one had asked him that in a long time. "My wife," he finally said. "She died. A long while ago." Tayen nodded slowly, as if filing that piece of him into a quiet corner of her mind. "So you know Hurt?" "Yeah," Sam whispered. "I know Hurt." Silence stretched. But it wasn't the same tight, fearful silence of the night before. This one was understanding. A fragile thread pulling two strangers closer. After breakfast, Sam took Tayen outside. The sun was climbing, warming the frost-kissed earth. She wrapped the blanket around her shoulders like a shawl, eyes scanning the open plains, as though expecting someone to emerge from the horizon. Sam pointed to the small barn. "You can stay close. Safe inside or near the house. I won't make you go far until we figure this out." Her gaze drifted to Rufus, who stood patiently near the fence. The horse snorted and lowered his head toward her. Tayen stiffened, but then lifted a hand cautiously. Rufus nudged her fingers. "He gentle," she whispered. "Gentlest animal on the ranch," Sam said with a smile. "Guess he likes you." A fragile smile flickered across her face. "Animals feel truth," she murmured. "They know heart better than people." Sam couldn't argue with that. For the next 2 days, an uneasy rhythm formed. Tayen slept by the fire, helped Sam feed the animals, and lingered outside only when Sam was near. She spoke rarely but watched everything with an attentiveness that reminded Sam of his wife, who once told him that silence was just another kind of language. By the third morning, Tayen had enough strength to help Sam carry water from the well. She held the bucket with both hands, small arms trembling but determined. Sam walked beside her, ready to grab the handle if she faltered. "You don't have to help," he said gently. "I want help," she answered. "Work keeps mind from fear." Sam nodded. "That's true enough." They poured the water into the trough. Rufus drank while Sam leaned against the fence. "Sam," Tayen said suddenly, staring at the dust shifting around her feet. "You think my people look for me?" He hesitated. "Maybe. Maybe they're searching, even now. But they see me with white man." Her voice cracked. "They think I choose enemy." Sam crouched beside her, laying a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Tayen, good people ain't gonna blame you for wantin' to live. And bad people, well, bad people look for excuses no matter what." She nodded, but her shoulders slumped. That afternoon, while Sam chopped wood, Tayen sat on the porch steps threading a bit of twine she found. Her small fingers moved with delicate precision. She didn't seem to notice Sam watching her with quiet admiration. Then something changed. Rufus lifted his head, ears pricking. Tayen froze. Sam straightened, axe still in hand. A thin cloud of dust rose far off near the western edge of the ranch. "Riders." Sam's pulse kicked. He grabbed Tayen's hand quickly. "Inside. Go now." Her breath stuttered. "They come. I don't know who it is," he said, pulling her gently but firmly toward the house. "But I'm not taking chances." He ushered her in and closed the door, lowering the bar across it. Tayen crouched behind the table, trembling. Sam peered out one window. 3 riders approached, moving slow but deliberate. Not in a rush. Not a friendly visit either. Sam wiped his palms on his jeans and forced himself to breathe evenly. He opened the door and stepped outside, staying on the porch but keeping distance. When the riders drew close enough for him to see their faces, he recognized 2 of them, white settlers who lived 5 miles south. The third was a stranger. "Afternoon," Sam called out, voice even. The lead rider, a thick, set man named Parker Reeves, tipped his hat without warmth. "Afternoon, Hart." Sam kept his posture relaxed. "What brings you out this way?" Parker glanced toward Sam's barn, then toward the house. "Heard some talk in town. 'Bout a little Apache girl gone missin'. Figured maybe you'd seen anything suspicious." Sam's jaw tightened. "Can't say I have." "That's so." Parker's gaze sharpened. "Some folks say she was being used as bait. Say her people plan attacks. Say anyone harborin' her's puttin' every settler family at risk." Sam's heartbeat thudded in his ears. He kept his voice steady. "Haven't seen any Apache around here." Parker stared at him long enough to make the lie feel like a splinter under the skin. Finally, he nodded slowly. "Well, just checkin'. You see anything, you let us know." The 3 turned their horses and rode off the way they came. Sam stayed still until they disappeared over the ridge. Then he went inside. Tayen was pressed into the corner, eyes wide and wet. "They know," she whispered. "They know I hide here." "No," Sam said firmly. He knelt in front of her. "They suspect, not know. And I ain't lettin' them near you. Not ever." Tayen stared at him, expression trembling between fear and fierce loyalty she didn't yet understand. "But if white men learn they take ranch, they kill you." Sam shook his head. "No, they won't. I've lived a whole lot of years with not much to lose. But now I've got something worth standing for." Her breath hitched. A tiny voice broke from her chest. Why you do this?" "For me." Sam felt his throat tighten. "Because somebody left you on a tree with a message carved in hate. And kindness is the only thing that can carve something different." A tear rolled down her cheek. She leaned into him. Not much, just enough for her forehead to touch his shoulder. It was trust. Just a thread of it. But it was enough to fill the empty spaces of his cabin, his past, his chest. Enough to scare him. Enough to save him. For the rest of the day, Sam's ranch felt like a tinderbox waiting for a spark. Tayen stayed close to him, moving quietly from room to room, always listening, always braced for the sound of hoofbeats returning. Each time wind rattled the door or a raven cawed outside, she jumped. That night, Sam didn't sleep at all. He sat beside the fire with a rifle across his lap, while Tayen curled beneath her blanket. She didn't drift off until nearly dawn, exhaustion finally overcoming fear. Sam watched her, thinking how someone so small could be carrying more weight than most grown men could bear. When morning came, Sam knew one thing clearly: hiding her forever wasn't a solution. And turning her over to the same men who'd tied her to that tree wasn't an option. The world couldn't be trusted to sort itself out. Sometimes, a man had to stand in front of the storm. He spent the morning preparing supplies, mending saddlebags, packing food. Tayen watched him from the doorway, worry etched deep across her face. "Where you go?" she asked, voice tight. Sam corrected softly. "We're going somewhere safe. I'm taking you home." Her eyes widened. "Home. Not back to the people who hurt you," he said. "But back to your tribe. To your real family, the ones who'd be searching for you if they knew you were alive." Tayen's throat bobbed as she swallowed. "But if they see me with you, they'll see the truth," Sam said gently. "Or we'll make them see it." A fear and hope warred across her face. He crouched down in front of her. "Tayen, I ain't lettin' you run scared for the rest of your life. And I ain't spendin' mine waitin' for a group of angry men to ride back here. Better we go to your people. Better we show them you're alive." For a long moment she didn't speak. Then she nodded, a small but brave nod. They saddled Rufus and set off just after midday. Sam rode with Tayen seated in front of him, her small hands gripping the mane. The ranch grew smaller behind them, just a shape on the endless plains. Tayen didn't look back. Sam did, once, feeling the weight of leaving the only home he'd known since Melissa died. The wind picked up as they rode, whipping Tayen's hair behind her like a banner. She leaned against him, shivering occasionally despite the sun. "She would like you," Tayen murmured suddenly. Sam blinked. "Who would?" "My mother," she said. "She say people have hearts like rivers. Some run shallow, some run deep. You deep river." Sam swallowed hard around the tightness in his throat. "That's mighty kind of her to say." They rode until the sky blushed orange. Tayen guided Sam, pointing toward distant hills she recognized. As they neared the foothills, she grew more anxious, glancing constantly over her shoulder. "Something wrong?" Sam asked. "Apache scouts watch these hills," she replied. "They quiet. They see everything." "That's good," Sam said. "We want them to find us." She didn't answer. By the time evening shadows stretched long across the valley, they spotted smoke. Thin gray wisps from fires burning beyond a rise. Tayen's breath caught. "My people." Sam felt her tremble. He tightened his arm around her lightly. "I'm right here." They approached slowly, Sam raising his hand in peace. Tayen remained silent, frozen like a bird facing a storm. Rufus walked with careful steps down the narrow path leading into a cluster of wickiups nestled against the hillside. 3 Apache warriors emerged, bows drawn. One spoke sharply in their language. Tayen lifted her chin. "I am Tayen," she said in Apache, voice trembling but loud enough. "Daughter of Chinoa, I live." The warriors stared, stunned. One lowered his bow first, whispering a word Sam didn't understand but felt in the air. "Miracle." Another called toward the village, and within moments people emerged, shocked murmurs rippling through the group. An older woman ran forward. Her cry tore through the valley. "Tayen!" She threw her arms around the girl, lifting her from the saddle. Tayen clung to her mother, sobbing into her chest. The woman held her as though she might vanish again if she loosened her grip. Sam sat still, letting the moment happen, feeling something rise inside him, relief, peace, and something like loss all tangled together. Tayen was home. Safe. And he was suddenly without purpose again. The villagers gathered around Tayen as her mother spoke rapidly, eyes flicking to Sam. Her expression was wary, guarded. Then the warriors focused on him. One stepped forward, face stern. "Rancher," he said in slow, accented English, "why you bring girl here?" Sam swallowed. "Found her on my land, tied to a tree." "Sign around her neck," said white man, "don't forgive." "Didn't seem right leavin' her there." A shock of murmurs rippled through the group. Her mother's eyes filled with tears again. Not of grief this time, but recognition of the horror her daughter had survived. Another warrior approached Sam. "You not hurt her?" "No, sir," Sam said quietly. "Never. I fed her, kept her warm and brought her home. That's all." The warrior studied him with hard, searching eyes. Then something unexpected happened. Tayen wriggled from her mother's arms and ran to Sam, wrapping her small arms around his waist. Gasps rose from the watchers. Sam froze, unsure whether to pull back or hold her. She pressed her cheek to his coat. "He saved me," she said in Apache. "He good man. Deep river." Sam felt tears sting the corners of his eyes. The warriors exchanged glances. Her mother's expression softened. She approached slowly, placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You bring my child home," she said to Sam in halting English. "For this, we thank you." Sam shook his head. "Didn't do it for thanks, ma'am. Did it because she deserved better than what happened to her." Tayen looked up at him, eyes shining. "You stay?" she asked quietly. Sam's heart pinched. "I can't stay here, sweetheart. This is your home. My place is back on the ranch." She held tighter. "But you alone?" Her simple words crashed into him like thunder. Alone, yes. He'd been alone for years, until she filled his quiet house with fragile courage and questions too wise for her age. "Tayen," he said softly, kneeling so they were eye to eye. "You gave me something I didn't know I'd get back. You gave me purpose again. But your family needs you. And my land, well, it needs me too." Her lip trembled. "I want you not gone." The Sam brushed her hair behind her ear. "I ain't gone. Not in the ways that matter." He pulled from his saddlebag a small object. Her rope, bound sign. He'd brought it intentionally, though he didn't know why until now. He placed it on the ground between them. "See this?" he said. Tayen nodded reluctantly. Sam snapped the wooden sign over his knee. The crack echoed across the valley. "No one decides your fate by writin' lies on a board," he said. "Not white men. Not angry men. Not anyone. You are more than what they tried to make you." Tayen stared at the broken pieces, tears sliding down her cheeks. Her mother knelt beside Sam and placed a hand over Tayen's. "He speak truth." The warriors stepped back, their suspicion fading. Her mother looked at Sam with a depth of gratitude he couldn't bear to hold for long. "You welcome here, Samuel Hart. Always." Sam swallowed. "Thank you, ma'am. Truly." He stood, adjusting his saddle. He didn't want to draw out the goodbye. It would only make the ache sharper. Tayen held his hand until the last possible moment. "Will I see you again?" she whispered. Sam smiled gently. "You will, don't you doubt it." He swung onto Rufus. Tayen's mother wrapped her arm around her daughter, holding her close. The villagers watched silently as Sam turned his horse toward the fading sunset. Tayen lifted her small hand in farewell. Sam lifted his hat. Rufus stepped forward, hooves soft on the earth. As Sam rode away from the valley, he felt something warm settle in his chest. Not loneliness, not sorrow, but a quiet, steady hope. The kind he thought he'd buried with his wife. The kind he never expected to feel again. A second chance at being human. A reminder that kindness could break curses louder than any carved sign. A truth he carried with him across the plains. Forgiveness is not about the people who hurt us. It's about the people we choose to heal.